Hey addicts, welcome back to another comic review. This time we're back with more Turtles, and I'm even representing today. We are continuing our coverage on the IDW Collection, this time with Volume 5. Real quick, I just want to shout out that I do have my TMNT Last Ronin Issue 1 review up. I know that the second issue got pushed back pretty far, but we will be back for that, so stay tuned if you are interested for more Turtles stuff. But let's get into this, because it has been a long time, and I have been super excited to check this one, or I guess I should say continuing the story that we have set forth. I think the last volume was sort of like in between arcs, and in this one we get a little bit more, but it really ramps up, and by the end of this volume we get into the next short little arc that they have, which, if you don't know, this volume collects Turtles in Time, issues 1 through 4, issues 38 to 44, but issue 38 to 44 is kind of like the prelude to the next arc, and then 41 to 44 is the Attack on the Technodrome arc, which is super dope, because that's been a long time building up to those events. And then we also get the Ghostbusters Crossover as well. That's 4 issues, and quite frankly, that's probably the weirdest thing in this volume. But we're gonna go over a little bit. I'm gonna make this a lot shorter. I know I say that all the time, but seriously though, I took less notes, so there's no chance of fail, hopefully, right? Okay, so starting with Turtles in Time, the premise for this is pretty simple, right? You have Renet and the Time Scepter messing things up with the Turtles, you know, having them thrown into different eras of time, each having to face Utroms from that era, or even in one issue, the Foot. So that is pretty cool to see. I think it does a nice little build up for what's later in the volume. But this is just a fun ride. I think, you know, they really take kind of those episodic moments that TMT can have, and they do a great job at it. Issue 1's kind of flat to me because it doesn't really have that much substance, but as a jumping off point, I think it does what it's supposed to. That also has probably my least favorite art. Nah, I can't say least favorite, but it you know, it doesn't really have an art style that I'm cool with. But shout out to all the artists that work on the series and, like, you know, all the little tie-in stuff, because I think they each do a great job, and there's, even if I don't like it as a whole, there is aspects of it that I really dig. And I think for the most part, I haven't really been displeased at all with the portrayal of, like, certain actions, whether it's, like, you know, the fighting sequences or just, like, expressions the characters have and emotional moments in each of the panels. I think even though some of the styles you don't necessarily like, I think the representation in those panels is still very well done, and, you know, just makes it flow really nicely as a reader of a graphic novel. But you know, with Turtles in Time, you do have issue 1 set in prehistoric Earth. There's a little cool, you know, callback to, like, the Utroms taking DNA from dinosaurs to create, you know, super soldiers, or, you know, slave workers or what have you. So you get a little bit of that. Issue 2 has them in feudal Japan, so that's also maybe like between this one and the third issue is maybe like my favorite of Turtles in Time, just because in issue 2, because they're in feudal Japan, there is you know, them being able to see not only Splinter as Homato Yoshi, but also their past human selves, and then you do get the nice callback of Mikey speaking Japanese, which I do love that they play on, as well as, you know, them going up against the Shredder and the Foot in the feudal version of them, or the past version, so, which is not one that they really had any tie-ins with because of how young they were, you know, before when they died. So really dig that. The third issue has kind of like a pirate theme, which, fantastic art. I don't really have anything to say, you know, constructively about the third issue, just that it was enjoyable. And again, as an episodic kind of issue, I do like it a lot. Issue 4 does have kind of I don't think it was still one of my favorites, but I do like kind of because of how or when it's set. it has tie-ins to the last Ronin issue, with it being set in the future. It's not the same future, but it is a future that's very similar. So that it has that going for it, but as well as it does lead to a last few pages of the Turtles talking as brothers that I really do dig. It's probably the best part of that issue, which I will say, from the very beginning with issue 1 of Turtles in Time to the very end issue in this volume, I think they did a great job of continuing that showcase of the character charm and, just charisma that they have between, all the allies and, whatnot. This is something that, again, it's kind of hard to express, but if you've seen my last volume review, it was something that I kind of think was pretty sound, where, because of the first issues, the first volumes kind of building up the storylines and building up the villains, there wasn't a lot of showcase to really show the Turtles as themselves or as brothers. And I think, from the last volume and onward into this volume as a whole, it's really done a great job of, giving that staple feel that they have. Again, it's kind of hard to explain, but I just really like that their personalities are able to showcase a lot more, and we do get a lot more individuality of the characters in these moments. So, if that's a better way to really say it. But you also have issues 38 to 40. Now, this isn't all of the ongoing issues that are in the volume, but this is kind of like the first segment that you can get of them. So it's in chronological order, but it's also kind of just easier because issues 38 to 40 are issues setting up for the arc that is showcased in the later half of the ongoing series issues in Volume 5. And they're dealing with showing Hob and his new recruits into his army, if you will, which I do like Hob a lot, and I do like the faction that he's building. It's kind of weird because I like Hob as an ally, but I don't really think that he's a good character, or he's a good character. What I mean is he's not a good guy, right? So I like the possibilities of where they're going to play with that, and because he's kind of been both a villain and an ally of the Turtles at this point, going forward, I think there's going to just have a lot more weight to whatever they do with him, and even with the people that he's kind of has under his command. But like I said, you have that. You also have Angel becoming Nobody, which is really cool. I think we might have gotten a sneak peek of that in the last volume. But seeing it here, I really am digging it. I think, bringing Angel to, having her kind of be able to have a bigger part and have it make sense, because she doesn't have any powers and, anything like that. So having it in a way where she can actually do some more damage or take some more damage, I do like that. And plus, Nobody's kind of like an interesting persona in the TMNT universe anyway, right? You also do get sneak peeks of Alopex coming back, which I don't remember where I left off on my stance of that, but Alopex I do think has grown on me a lot. I still think some of the things they did with her character early on was like, but I think where we've gotten to it now, it doesn't make up for it, but I think at least it the end kind of what's like the end kind of justified the means. Not really, but similar to that. I do like where it ended up. So I guess course correction. They were able to steer it onto the right path, because I do like what they're doing with Alopex now, and I'm kind of curious to see if they'll keep up with that. There is kind of this weird, almost setup they have, or relationship setup that they have with Alopex and Raph. So I'm interested to see how far they'll take that. But yeah, so again, having those characters that are sort of like minor, but they're starting to have more of a weighted connection with the main cast, I think is really good, because if they want to take it farther and start killing off or like, really wounding people, it's just going to hit much more, that much more harder. But also with issues 38 to 40, you also have a run-in with Bebop and Rocksteady, which I really do love how they're handling Bebop and Rocksteady. They are probably the most, maybe outside of like Krang, right? I think they have probably the scariest destructive power. And I think the way they handled that and kind of offset it with, you know, kind of like the comedic relief they're known for, and also just like the stupidity that the characters are too, right? I think they balance that in a way where it still lets them be a very serious threat. It still makes you be like, oh shit, they're going to have to go up against them. Because I don't think necessarily the Turtles would have an easy time fighting against Bebop and Rocksteady, as you can see, no spoilers in this volume. But the way they are able to subdue them or beat them, in a sense, in these instances, I think is done well. That, you know, not only is there justifiable reason why, obviously because they're outclassed in their skill, but also just the way they're able to realistically take down somebody that's so freaking strong and so durable. I don't think it undermines that kind of threat that they have for later. Again, it's Bebop and Rocksteady, I think, is one of those that you kind of have to walk with a thin liner or a thin wire, because, you know, of the like really powerful, but also they're that kind of like comedic stupid, you know. So far I think they're balancing it quite nicely. But then you get into the Ghostbusters crossover, which is 4 issues, and this is one that I feel kind of exasperated about, because I have really no interest at all seeing the Ghostbusters with TMNT. And, you know, I don't know how many other people feel like that, but I was just like, you know, let's see where it goes. You know, I have no interest, but, you know, maybe they can make something that makes it interesting. And I think they do bring a compelling component into the story part of it. The Ghostbusters side, it's fine, you know. I don't really have any problems, or, you know, I don't think it's trash or it's bad necessarily. It wasn't just for me. There wasn't anything really gripping me on the Ghostbusters side. I will say, though, the kind of comedic side, or like the jokes of the Ghostbusters, didn't land to me at all. And I don't really think they represent the characters that, you know, were made in the movies, because I am a fan of the movies, so it's not that's not the reason why I wasn't interested in this. It's just a weird, you know, I guess matchup for them. It's almost like they're like, okay, what's another iconic 4-partner team of the 80s? Hey, Ghostbusters, why not? You know, it kind of seemed like that kind of a meeting, right? So, you know, again, not really much of anything I can say bad or that I think was terrible about the story part of it, because I do think they bring in an interesting aspect with Chi Yao, I think is supposed to be the name, which is supposed to be a brother of the Rat King and Kasune, and how that kind of ties into, I guess, the mythos they're building and the potential almost mystic or cosmic threat that the Turtles will face later on in the series, I think is interesting. But, you know, Ghostbusters side, just okay. Comedic stuff, can live without, you know, doesn't really scream Ghostbusters to me. But I think the Turtles in this side of the crossover is really good. Even like, I feel like there's an Evil Dead reference with like some of the way the possession looks. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but that's kind of the vibe I got. I was like, hey, Casey looks a lot like Ash in this scene. But anywho, that's basically Ghostbusters crossover. If you love Ghostbusters, I know that Ghostbusters has a comic of their own. So if you like the comic, or if you're like a diehard Ghostbusters fan and you also like TMNT, this might be one that, you know, you really like. But for me, as mainly a TMNT fan, more so, I would say, obviously, than Ghostbusters, but liking both franchises, it was just okay. I think issues 41 to 44 really do a great job of closing out the volume, however, because this is, again, where we get to see the attack on the Technodrome. There's a lot of moving parts, so I'm not going to be able to go into every single little thing that happens, nor do I want to, because there is a few big things in it that I don't really necessarily want to spoil for anyone if you haven't read it and you care about spoilers. But the attack on Technodrome was really fun. I do love the Eastman and his team of writers, Tom Waltz and all of them, they do a great job of having these kind of twists that you're like, okay, that's real. I got the hook, you got it in my cheek, but, even though I'm interested, I'm questioning why the characters would do this, or not necessarily why they would do this, because I think the reasoning is sound. It's just like, would the character really do that? And they do a really good job of presenting those twists, having you ask those questions, but then going back and showing you exactly how that situation came to be and why they followed through, and it making complete sense. And I'm totally fine with that. Issue by issue, I think there's a bit more, a bit more things that people could say probably in the moment, but looking back as it, as a collection, I think it really is something that I'm a fan of, because you do have, it's kind of like the best of both, right? You're able to have those cliffhangers that are shocking and like really get you hyped and interested to see the next issue, but it's not like a disservice to the story or to your fans, right? Of the fans knowing the characters, or just being able to write dog shit for the sake of a thrill, right? So I do love their use of that and the way they handle it. Now, like I said, there is a lot of moving parts, so you do get to see like Splinter with Hobs people and the mutants with him. You get to see the Turtles working as a team. You also have other moving parts in there. With Angel and Harold. Harold's another big part of this, which I'm still on the fence about his character, but I do like what they're able to do because of like the smarts that they give him. But you also have the Foot versus the Krang's army, right? There's really no organization, I guess you could say, that's his. But yeah, overall, I'm trying to like tiptoe spoilers here, but really did like it. Really, the only thing that I think is dropped the ball a little bit is there is a moment where the Fugitoid and Stockman, I guess, because we know that the Fugitoid was making plans to betray Krang and help the Turtles take down the Technodrome, right? And we had seen I think in the Stockman micro series one-shot, and maybe even in one of the arcs or in the Fugitoids micro series one-shot, that the Fugitoid, or I should say Honeycutt and Stockman, don't have reasons to trust each other. They have completely different ideals, they have completely different goals, and they've already kind of shown to both of themselves that they cannot trust the other. And so I think the moment in this arc where the Fugitoid kind of seemingly trusts Stockman for no reason. Like, Stockman gives him no reason to trust him. It's not even a situation dire where, like, the Fugitoid's like, well, crap, I can't do this myself, so I have no choice but to trust Stockman to hopefully, grow a conscience in this moment and do the right thing, right? And so that leads to a lot of shocking moments and, like, cool fight sequences later in the arc that wouldn't have happened if the Fugitoid would have not trusted Stockman. But it's just, I don't know, that's the only part where the writing, I think, really kind of hiccups, because I don't think Honeycutt would have trusted him, or at least there was no reason to. So I don't know why because it's such a pivotal point, and that's what I think really disservices it, right? But anyway, guys, closing this out, really did dig the volume. As a whole, it does have its moments. Like I said, the Ghostbusters crossover is a bit lackluster, at least to me. There is an issue in Turtles of Time that, is not the best, but it is okay because it is the first issue setting up things. But between Turtles in Time and the ongoing issues, really digged it. There's, again, a lot of moving parts. I think they did a great job of showcasing the individuality and the characters of, the Turtles and their allies. And I really do love kind of even the minor stuff that they're setting up. For instance, like with Casey and like April's parents, I feel like this could go several ways. You know, maybe we have like something that happens that kind of puts Casey and April in a reversal role where, you know, April's the one wanting to go out and fight and Casey's the one kind of holding her back. Or, you know, they can go a completely different direction. But I am curious to see, you know, where all this stuff's going to go. And there was a huge impact in the very last issue of Volume 5 that I think they did set up a way that they're going to deal with that situation. Everything's going to work out okay. But I'm curious to see if they go that route. If it is, props to the writing again, because I think that's one thing that consistently they do, and that is not only showing you great sequences happening before you, but you also have the setup in that. So it leads to just, you know, almost every volume you're getting something explosive, right? In some part of the volume, at least, you know, there's some big thing. So really been digging it. It's still going to suffer a little bit because of the Ghostbusters crossover, because even though I didn't necessarily love it or hate it, it did bring down the overall volume, I think, and I think that's just being fair when, you know, you love a lot of parts, but then you still don't like a chunk of it, because the Ghostbusters crossover is a good chunk of this volume. I mean, let's see here, if I could quickly, it's like, okay, so like you got, I'm gonna have to speed this up. Okay, just as like an idea, right? That's the Ghostbusters crossover for you, right? So, you know, good chunk of the volume. So with that being said, I think a lot of the other volumes, if I'm remembering correctly, got a Gotta Have It or higher. This one I think was I'm going to have to put it at a worth it. I think moments in this volume, like I said, the Turtles in Time, the ongoing issues, I think they were higher than that. But as a whole collection, that's where I would put it at. Still, if you got the time to dive into the TMNT IDW run, I highly recommend it. It's been a really good read so far, and as well as if you've already started, you know, reading it and you're looking into this volume, you're gonna want to pick it up. You know, the Ghostbusters crossover, maybe you can skip and read for a later time and just get into the ongoing series. But you know, as a collector myself, I would, you know, I would just lose my mind if I didn't collect this, but I collected the others. But if you're somebody that doesn't really care about collecting, then maybe this would be one I suggest, you know, just buy the Turtles in Time separately, and then maybe buy like the volume, like the smaller volume has like issues 38 to 44, or, you know, like after that. So but that would be my recommendation, guys. We're gonna get out of here. It still ended up being super long, so apologies for that, but we will be back for volume 6 and TMNT Last Run in issue 2. I don't know when they're gonna come out because of scheduling and all that stuff, but we should have volume 6 up shortly, I'm hoping. There is some stuff in the works novel wise that we'll have to work around, but I will be looking very forward. I'll probably start volume 6 today even. But let me know what you guys thought of volume 5. What did you like it, or how much did you like it compared to the other ones? And are you excited for what to come? You know, did you like the crossover? Maybe I'm just full of it. Who knows? Let me know down in the comments. But anyway, guys, I'll see you next time. Peace, addicts.